Good morning and hello from Nesthaven. We are here at Brendan's homestead in Waldo County, Maine. Beautiful day. Quick overview of the homestead here. Brendan has taken a 48-foot refrigerated over-the-road trailer and converted it into his home. Kind of a tiny house on the left-hand side here, and split up by this doorway in the middle with that door that you see, and on the right-hand side he's got his woodworking and electrical workshop. Building is off the grid. He's getting his solar photovoltaic energy through these panels here, and on the opposite side of the building is a diesel generator, which we're going to go over for auxiliary power when he has to spin up that table saw or use a shop vac or something, or if he wants to run his secondary DC well pump. Redundancy in heating systems here as well. Gonna look at inside. There's a wood stove, so he's able to burn wood, none of which is purchased, of course. And then he has salvaged and rebuilt and created his own hydronic solar thermal hot water heating panels. Those drive heat for heat exchange for domestic hot water usage, and he has also devised a system to put that process heat into a heater that allows him to blow air across it to heat the interior of his space. And there is also a batch heater, which is living below that hydronic unit, which he's going to use to be able to take really hot, large volume baths in the cold months. So let's go inside and take a little bit of a deeper look at some of these systems. Before we go inside, let's just actually go over water first. So Brendan has a well that was dug on this 4-acre property before he actually bought it. Well's behind me, and there's a 200-foot deep 12-volt DC well pump. Draws 10 gallons a minute of water, which he can power with the diesel generator that we're going to look at. And he also, at 50 feet down that same well bore, has the I'm sorry, the 200-foot pump is 240 volts AC. At 50 feet he has the 12-volt DC, much lower flow pump, which can come off of his solar service for more continuous flow. But when he does run up that generator, every time it's on, he's pumping water into this tank up here, which is an old 300 or 270 gallon IBC tote, off of which he has built PVC irrigation systems here, and he has different valves you can see coming off of that tree there. One of them is also a shower head, so you can take cold showers, gravity fed from that water tower, and also gravity fed. Once he's got the water up there, he can water all of the garden and greenhouse, etc. And now we'll go into Nesthaven. Here we are. He's got a little hatch that he built. By the way, this is his shower pad here, which is very, very, very convenient for washing your feet or washing your hands when you're outside. He's integrated frost-free valves. This is very, very creative. So this can be used in the winter. There's hot and cold, and you can stand here under this. There's a hot water tank that we're going to see that's above us on the inside, and the valves for these are actually inside the structure, so that you can articulate this opening here And all of the actuation is actually happening on the inside, so nothing freezes. And when you close this, all of the water just drains out here. So this is something that you can actually use in the wintertime, which is very, very valuable. DIY little step here, granite pad going into this hatch. See you on the inside. And on the inside here, we are in the kitchen. So, this window is actually where the refrigerated unit used to mount, and he's got this little hatch that's insulated with 4-inch foam, and because it's low, when you exit out of here in the winter, you're not losing all of your heat. This is an 80-gallon glass-lined tank. Water comes into the building somewhere under here and passes through a water filter here, a paper water filter. That water feeds into this large tank. On the inside here is also the 6-gallon marine hot water heater, which is two-way. You can either plug it in right here and use your 120 to heat with electricity when you only have electricity, but also it's got this heat exchanger in here. And so what Brendan has done is he's taken the hydronic units that we saw outside, these solar panels, and he uses that and puts the fluid through that hot water tank in there. So he's heating his hot water using solar thermal energy. So now we've got water input into this tank up here. He's made this little fill line so you can actually see how high up the water level is in the tank. And then he's got two different outputs here. And he can do a lot of different stuff with this system. He's got hot water on demand right here, and then there's cold water here and here, which are all gravity fed. So once you get the water into this tank up here, you're pretty much all set. And there's really a lot going on here, not all of which I have really dissected and understood yet at this point. But with these series of valves from inside, Brendan is able to either divert the pump, the DC pump, or sorry, the AC 240 pump, the 10-gallon a minute pump, to either fill the water tower outside, or he can fill this tank up here. So he just tries not to waste the energy when he is using it. And again, there is redundancy in his hot water heating. He has 3 ways to heat water. He can either heat water with electricity in that 6-gallon tank, using the solar thermal system if there's sun on a hot day, or he has this little unit here on his wood stove where he can put cold water into this, have a fire, and all of a sudden he's got a couple of gallons of very hot water. So that's 3 ways of redundancy to heat water in the space. Very small refrigerator here. This is 12-volt unit. It came out of a semi-tractor. He's also got a fridge not in use here, which is propane backup, DC 12-volt and 120-volt AC unit. DIY shelving here, very creative, staggered system. Makes it a little more comfortable when you're working. He's got a propane stove, 2-burner here. This is a Gaggenau, probably came out of an RV. Really sweet little unit. Little exhaust fan here. And this is a little bit more about some of the systems here, finishing that off. He's got a couple of temperature controllers here, ammeters, and what we got going on basically is that the hydronic panels outside are pumping that hot fluid and circulating it through and into the house, we saw that one of the places where they can put their heat, or the heat from that fluid, is into that little hot water tank to produce hot water. But when that hot water is up to the temperature, and you can see that green light on that top unit is on, that means, all right, we're already up to the temperature that we want there. And now with these two reds, that means we're going to be dumping heat into these other bays. This one here is going to mean, or represent for this here. And so that hot fluid goes into this radiator, and then he's hacked up a mock-up, but there's a blower here, and when you turn on that blower, and he can have it set from those electronics, that when it gets up to temperature, it starts blowing hot air, or air across this radiator, which is the hot working fluid in it. Now you've got a space heater that's just using all the excess heat from that solar collector and dumping it into the room. And from what he said, that even in these 10-degree Fahrenheit Maine winter days, he can come back not having lit a fire and have a very comfortable interior space. And on a lot of days, particularly in the shoulder seasons of late fall and early spring, he doesn't need to light a fire at all. It's greatly reduced his wood heating use, and it also makes it a lot more convenient. Extremely creative. I've never seen anybody else do anything like that. The bottom of these temperature controllers is set up for that batch heater once he gets that going, which is going to allow him to heat up a substantial amount of hot water for taking baths outside in the winter. And now we can see the interior here. Again, there's a wood stove. He's also devised this outer jacket system that goes outside of the main stovepipe with a little fan on the bottom so that he can make turbulence in the air around the stovepipe, and it blows out of that small lip on the top so that he can get more effective heat out of the stack, which normally just dumps heat outside. He did 2 inches of polyiso foam on the inside of the walls and the ceiling, and then he finished them off quite nicely. And one thing that's very creative that he's done here is he's wired all of his switches and outlets into these panels, and he routed out on the inside, so all of his wiring is just a few screws away from being able to be serviced in the event that he wants to augment or repair anything. The solar system is a 6-volt system and a 12-volt system, both DC. It allows him to run 6-volt items like his lighting on their own system, so there's never going to be any flickering or any of that stuff that you sometimes see if you're going to be drawing a lot of power from the other systems. And then he's got 12 volt for a lot of other appliances, and he can also run 18-volt appliances, which is very, very unique and interesting as well. And we'll talk a little bit more about that. Under the left side of the bed here, he's got his battery storage compartment, and then he's got clothing storage, which he's devised a system for storing very creatively in these drawers, which he made himself. Here is the workshop. Brendan's working outside here. And here is the electrical panel. More here going on than I really would be able to explain perfectly, but he's got 2 charge controllers here for 12 volt and then a 6-volt charge controller as well. A lot happening here. He's able to do all sorts of jumpering if he needs to for various purposes. Studied a lot of electrical engineering. One really cool thing happening here also is that he's made these outlets where he can jumper in 18-volt tools, and he's got this whole series of 18-volt tools like this one, and he can actually hardwire them into that outlet or right into his panel and be able to run normally cordless power tools with constant 18-volt corded power, which is really incredible. Here we can see the inside of what the trailer looks like a little bit more in the state in which he got it, but this is his tool shop. Another little wood stove in here, and it's got these doors that open up here out onto a deck that he salvaged, and he does a lot of work out here as well. Coming around back here onto the north side of the building, that unit right here is a diesel generator, which he has integrated into his electrical panel, so he can do things like pump a lot of volume of water or run heavy power tools. And because it's integrated into that wall panel that we've seen, you just turn on the tools and go, and you don't really know where the power is coming from, whether it's the batteries or the generator, but everything seems to work seamlessly. It's really quite elegant, and it works really well. He's also got a backup diesel generator here, and I think there's actually even another one somewhere as well. This is an example of one of the cordless tools using the corded connection that he made from the panel. And there you have it, a little bit of an overview of an off-grid tiny house in a platform of an over-the-road insulated 48-foot trailer. Very, very creative here. Brendan's a super technical guy, and he's designed all these systems that allow him to have a really comfortable place. Some of these things are still in kind of his mock-up sort of design, but you know, this place is warm, it's well insulated, it's heated, and he has hot water, and he doesn't pay any electricity bills, no heating bills, and he's really in control of what's happening here. He's got a workshop where he can work on this place as well as do projects for income or for other people, and he's got a living space all in this one relatively mobile platform. And so some notes for me and maybe some other people who are interested in this sort of thing. Thanks a lot to Brendan for giving me the time and space to check this out. Thanks, and take care.